Hello and welcome back to PhDear Diary. My name is Andy Salkeld and this is my video blog, diary, whatever you want to call it, whilst I am doing a PhD at Leeds Beckett University in psychology. So we're coming up to week 20 now, something like that, and we're in the thick of it now. We've gone through what is called the confirmation of registration, and we are now in with actually developing, designing, and building out my first study. And this is quite challenging. So a few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had spoken to one of my friends who is currently an accountant in business, and that they are willing to help. However, I wanted to make sure that I'd consulted kind of more accountants, more finance professionals to make sure that I had correctly, maybe that's not the right word, but that I had consulted experts in finance to make sure that what I was describing and how I was articulating the questions and the answers in my study, to make sure that those accurately reflected finance and what they think would be the most appropriate beliefs, values, and behaviours of a finance team that matches the ones I want to portray. So I sent it over to them, and so I put a post on LinkedIn, and I had loads of responses. Loads of people responded directly and said, more than happy to help. PhDs are incredibly hard work, so and any help I can provide will be great. And so now I'm waiting for those to come back. So what I did was I sent them my proposed questions, as well as the proposed vignettes of finance teams. So I kind of did all of that, put it in a document, sent them a bit of blurb, put a bit of a here's what you need to do, here's what you need to think about part to it, and then kind of sent it to them. I've had it back from a couple of people, but there's still, say, 5 to 6 waiting. But that's still really good. This is a really good kind of sign that I'm getting the right input to make sure what I'm doing is done in the kind of the most scientific way that I can. So now, whilst I'm waiting for those to come back, I am now preparing my questionnaire. And what this is basically is I'm building a website of questions. But because of the way my questions are structured and what I want to do with them, I need to do some really fancy logic inside the design of the website. So the way it basically works is it's a hosted service called Qualtrics, and you basically build out, I want to present this. Then I want to present this, then here's a question that I need people to answer 1, 2, or 3 times, blah, 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 you do that. And here's the trick. One of the questions that I'm asking people is to pick which one of 4 descriptions of finance team most closely matches the finance team they work with at work. So there's 4 of them that match the competing values framework quadrants that I talked about. And what I'm essentially saying there is pick which quadrant your finance team operates in. So are they rational goal? Are they internal process? Are they human relations, or are they open systems? Like those are the 4 quadrants. Which one? Like, I'm not using those terms. I'm just describing things that finance do that match those terms. So if they're a facilitator of multiple teams working together, or if they're a kind of a process manager that makes sure everything is dealt with correctly and so on, like all these things. So people are assigning themselves to one of these 4 quadrants. What I'm doing later is I'm then going to be asking people, right, you have said you are in one rational goal. Now I'm going to put you in a different finance team, and I want you to imagine working with a different finance team. So what I need to do there is, one, I need to track what their answer to the question is, which is fine. That's easy to do. But then what I need to do is say, right, if you have selected one rational goal, then you are randomly assigned to 2, 3, or 4. However, if you select 2, you're randomly assigned to 1, 3, and 4. If 3, 1, 2, 4, and if 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's fairly straightforward because you just use what's called a branch tool. So if they selected this, you put them in this branch. But what I want to do is, before I ask the questions, I want to remind them that this is the team that they are in, or that this is the finance team they're working with. So I want to continually refer back to it. But because I'm only presenting these, they're not questions, so there's not an answer that I can pull back. So what I've had to do now is I've had to use embedded data. So when someone joins Vignette, or when someone has selected 1, and then they can go into 2, 3, or 4, when they are randomly assigned to either 2, 3, or 4, then they get given what's called an embedded data code, which I've labeled Vignette, 2, 3, or 4. And then what I do is I say, if embedded data code is 2, then present 2, which in this case is it's the second one. I can't remember. Rational goal, human relations, open systems, and my mind's gone completely blank. It's completely blank. You get the premise. So what I can do there is I can say, you selected this, you've been randomly assigned to this. Because you were randomly assigned to this, you were given a code that you never know, that the user never knows about, and then I draw back on that code at different times throughout the remaining study to say, by the way, remember, this is the finance team you're working with, and this is how they operate. And what we will do at the end is we will end up with people that have responded. People will have been randomly assigned, or will have chosen teams 1, 2, 3, or 4. Then they will also have responded to either 1, 2, 3, or 4 at the end. So we'll end up with kind of double layering of the same study, what people think it's like to work with a single finance team, some experience, some opinion/belief orientated. Not the same, but comparable. But we're also going to end up with an ability to say, is one rational goal better or worse than human relations, or better or worse than open systems, etc. And this way we'll be able to see, well, what do people prefer, or what is better for their individual psychological outcomes. And that's kind of where I am. Like I've had to figure out all this logic and how to do it in the correct system and process and use the tools to enable it. And now that I've done that, I've got it all in place. I've simplified my forms and the web pages, much more straightforward now, so there's less boxes, which makes it easier to use. And now I'm just waiting to hear back for the questions. Because if people think the questions need to be phrased differently, or if they need different answers, then I want to make sure I build that in now rather than later. And that's where I am with it. It's pretty good. Like, now that I've done that, or I'm doing that, that's something that I'm hoping to have finished within the next week, maximum 2. But I also have I also have a conference coming up. So the Psychology Centre at the university runs a PhD conference where each PhD candidate presents on their work. And me being the newbie, I'm presenting first. So start of the day, start of everyone in the room, in the audience, listening to what PhD candidates are saying, etc. And I'm going first. And that is excellent. Because I love presenting. And I love going first. Because I will do what I normally do. I will put on a great show. I will put on a spectacle. There will not be very much content because I don't have much content right now. But I will make it entertaining and engaging, and I will hopefully wake the audience up, because these things can be tiring, and I will do what I can to wake people up, get them thinking, get them enjoying it, and just entertained. It will be, as always, a slide deck full of memes, because that's the only way. Like, I'm coming in there with a depth of knowledge of finance, and I'm saying, well, I'm going to take your psychology and I'm going to use it in my terms, but they're not going to necessarily know my terms of finance, so I have to make it accessible. So this is going to be a really interesting balance of hitting the right notes, and I thrive off that. That's exactly what I love doing. So I'm excited for that. That's a week on Wednesday. Yeah, week on Wednesday. So that'll be really good. Other than that, things are pretty quiet, pretty chill. Just back to normal. I had a board meeting yesterday that was really good. Discover is growing well. I'm excited about it, happy for how it's progressing, and all in all, just generally just very happy in life. And that's I don't say that lightly. As someone who has had lots of troubles over the years, being able to sit here and say, you know what? I actually enjoy life right now. I enjoy my work. I love what I'm doing. I have great hobbies and great friends that I'm getting to see and enjoy my time with and everything like that. I'm actually like, this is good. So yeah, things are positive right now. Obviously, this can change. But one thing I've always said is be happy in the meantime. So whilst I am happy now and I'm enjoying my time, I'm going to make sure that I enjoy it and value it and keep going with what I'm doing. Sure, things could change and be better, but you know what? I'm all right. And that's good. And that's why I'm going to end it for today. So thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask me. You can contact me here via my website, whatever. I'll always check. And in general, have a good week, and I will see you in a week's time. Thank you very much.